AD, I love you. I don't think it's responsible for me to say I do. I'm sorry, AD. I'm sorry. I feel as though like I became such a better man dealing with you through this whole process. Came through, you popped out, I saw you, and I was like, I could work with that. I don't care what nobody says. I know fully I'm not ready for marriage, and you deserve the best. I looked at myself in the mirror and said, am I a husband? And the answer was no. Am I deeply in love? The answer was no. I should have said it.
Like, I feel kind of like a sacrifice. Like, you learned so much about yourself.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
Used me to like do it.
I do watch this show. Love is Blind is one of my favorite shows that have come out in the last few years. It does remind me of, probably the best way outside of arranged marriages that love could actually work, especially in this society. There isn't a lot of positive or successful relationships in this society. Most of relationships end up in divorce. And it's just hard with all these choices that everyone has. So when I see Love is Blind, it is, pulls on my heartstrings a little bit, I will admit. And I like some of the aspects of it, of course, not being able to see the person, but hear him. It does remind me of back in the day when we used to have those party lines. You would try to find love that way. But, and then when they do have to make a choice then and there. It's not like I'm gonna wait around and see. You gotta make a choice then and there. And then you get to see each other for the first time, get to know each other, hang out. You meet the parents, which I think is a great aspect of the show, is that you get to meet the parents. It's not as just, I'm gonna go ahead and marry somebody I don't know. The parents get to meet them and they get to weigh in. A lot of these contestants, they respect their parents' opinion, or their family's opinion. So I do like the show, and one of the things I do like the show, they got so-called black folks on here, and I always root for them because I always want the so-called black folks to get it right, but it don't seem like we can. I don't know if we've ever actually had a successful one. But this couple, it was a roller coaster of a ride. And I'm gonna just say what my thoughts are with their whole relationship. So I thought that how they fell in love was okay. I think that there was a lot of red flags with this brother right here. But to his defense, we're talking about 4 weeks. 4 weeks. We're not talking about 4 months. Definitely ain't 4 years. It's 4 weeks. You got to give the brother a little bit of mercy here. He pretty much had to, every time he talked, he was convincing himself that he loved AD. And he was convincing himself how nice she was and how much of a change and effect that she was on his life and growth. And I was like, you always talking about that, bro. I feel like you trying to convince yourself. Not me, but you. So, but when they get to the altar, I was up in the air. I was like, I don't know. They might not. He might not. But when he actually gets up there, and I was like, oh, I'm glad they made her go first because, that way we get to see what she was going to say. Even his vows sounded like he was still trying to convince us or convince her or convince himself, really. And I'm like, bro, just say it. But as you know, he ends up saying it would be irresponsible for me to say yes. And as I'm sure all the emotional people, especially women, when I watch this show, is saying things like, oh, he did her dirty, did her wrong. We're talking about 4 weeks. 4. And he just wasn't ready in 4 weeks. I don't really see a problem with that. There was the show, not last season. Was it last season or the season before last? When he had an African dude and yoga instructor. They didn't say it at the altar, but they still stayed together afterwards. So I just think that in 4 weeks, it might not be reasonable. Now, do you got to get up there and say it? No. That's the only thing that I don't like, is that when people put the bag over the person's feelings, it's a red flag to me. I think if you really cared about that person, you would not put her up there on the stage, or you wouldn't put him up there on the stage. I'm sure that you get money per episode that you're on. So they like, we're going to get this money. But that's what he was probably saying. But he really probably should they should have talked about it before, or he probably just should have just not done it. but he probably wanted to get his little $25,000 or whatever they make on this show. That's the only red flag. It's the only like mess up thing I would say. But I think that they should continue to date. I think you should. I don't think they should let this really affect their relationship. I think she should give him some mercy or some grace here, and just continue to work with his brother, because he's a good brother. He's in there, he got all this shit together. He just needs to mature and realize that this is the woman for him, because he's probably not gonna get another woman like that. Now, one thing that I would say is that was a red flag for me was her wedding dress. Her wedding dress, her whole cooch was out. She walked down the aisle showing everybody her cooch. Now, I'm sure all the women didn't recognize that, but if I was him, that would have been the red flag for me. Seeing her cooch out on her wedding dress, that'd have been a red flag for me. There's no way my wife is gonna be wearing that. There's no way I'm not gonna know what my wife is gonna be wearing. And if he accepted something like this, that means she's not ready for marriage, because he don't really know how to guide a woman. She's no longer single. She's no longer single. She's supposed to be going up there to get married. So she's supposed to be a wholesome woman, not walking down like a hoe. And I saw that little wedding dress episode where, she had a nice one on at first, but then she found the one that got the slit all up her cooch. And then she's like, that's the one for me. And she did a little all that. I'm like, bro, you're not a wife. They both got things they gotta work on. That's what I'm saying. He got things he gotta work on. She for sure got things she gotta work on. I like her personality though. She seems to be a wholesome woman. She seems to be genuine, but she just needs a little more guidance as far as like how to conduct herself and not being such a hoe. Even her bachelor party, she was being kind of a hoe. Doing all the sexual dances with the chair and all that. But I think his response, it was a responsible one. He just wasn't ready, and he wanted to make sure that whoever he asked to his life is gonna be there for real. You cannot know someone in 4 weeks. You just can't. You cannot know someone in 4 weeks, and really you only had 3 weeks because you didn't get to see him till after 1 week was up. So now you only had 3 weeks. There's no way that you can really know somebody. And she was already tripping about his little schedule, being he working too late and things like that. And, you come home too late or staying out too late. And, I just think that he needs to see more of her real personality. I would say take about a year or two to really get to know this lady. But one thing I would say about this show, I would say if they want to be successful, do not have sex until the marriage. Period, point blank. Now, if you just on the show to make some money, want to be a little star, 15 minutes of fame, it is what it is. But if you really want a successful marriage for this show, I would say do not have sex, because you already built up all these emotions, right? And then you just release it all once you have sex, especially for the men. And now you got what you wanted. You didn't, there wasn't enough feelings to build up. And the more that you restrain from those feelings, those lustful thoughts, then the more you're going to actually love them for who they are and not just trying to get into their pants. So I would say in this show, even with them, where they went wrong is they had sex as soon as they met, or as soon as they, was on the honeymoon. And the one couple that made it did not. And I've always said that. I've always said, I think that the couples that are really gonna make it are the ones that's not gonna have sex. And the other couple that did make it, they didn't really seem to have a lot of stuff. They were kind of boring, but that's kind of what marriage is. It's monotony. It's not really a lot of excitement. It's just getting to know each other, and it's not gonna be a lot of fights. It's not gonna be a lot of arguments. It's not gonna be a lot of low blows and throwing underneath the bus. And not gonna be a lot of that. So there's gonna be a lot of learning each other, a lot of communication, a lot of laughs, a lot of romance. It's gonna be a lot of that. It's not gonna be a lot of drama, so even though that couple was boring, they had a recipe for success. So unfortunately, they had sex their first night together, or at least on that little honeymoon that they was on, and we can see where it kind of got them. But I think that they should stay together. I think they should continue to be together or date, and then maybe in 6 months or a year, 2 years, they can actually get married. But I think for this brother, I think it was a good move for him that he did not just say yes just because when you really think about it, it's only 4 weeks. I know none of y'all would get married in 4 weeks. I just know it. So let's not even try to beat around the bush and act like you would, because you wouldn't. Okay. So this brother, he said he need to know her finances. And if that's what he needs to know, then it is what it is. For a lot of men, it's not a big deal. But for him, it's a big deal. So he got to learn some more about her. He don't know nothing about her. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Should he have married her? Was it messed up? Is 4 weeks enough? That's the biggest question. Is 4 weeks enough? And yeah, man, if I made you laugh, go ahead and hit that like button. Made you smile, go ahead. Yeah, man, if I made you laugh, go ahead and hit that like button. If I made you think, go ahead and hit that comment section. I'll be in the comments. And, you know, if you want to just roll with the channel, we're a small channel trying to do big things. So likes, shares, comments, and notifications, you know, and subscriptions help us out a lot. So hit us up. All right. Peace.